Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Norristown High Boys Basketball. I'm Jeff Brandon, and we'll be bringing you the Norristown High Eagles against the Galloping Ghosts of Abington High School this evening in what should be a very interesting basketball game. The Ghosts and the Eagles come into this ball game as two of the most highly rated teams in the Suburban 1 League National Division. And then Norristown has gone 4-1 so far this season. Their only loss coming at the last minute to CB East. Their victories coming over Bishop Kenrick, Plymouth Whitemarsh, Chester High School, and Upper Merion. That Upper Merion victory, they coasted to a nice win, played tenacious defense. However, they still haven't been able to get their offense on track yet this season. I think for the Norristown High Eagles to be successful at all tonight, they've got to come out shooting against Abington. Somebody's got to get hot early. They can't let the first half go by with a lackluster offensive performance. I must say that John Cresswell has his team playing tremendous defense so far this season. The Eagles were tenacious against Upper Merion, creating turnover after turnover, forcing the Upper Merion guards into mistakes that they really didn't want to commit. I think the story is going to be different with Abington High School here this evening. Abington, a much cooler basketball team than Upper Merion, and I think matches up more equally with Norristown as far as speed is concerned. The Eagles are led, of course, by Theron Ellis on defense at the center position. Theron, as you all know, has a tremendous vertical leap. He intimidates players on the defensive end of the court time after time, forcing shots that the opposition doesn't want to take. The man's a big factor for the Norristown Eagles in this ball game. At guard, the Eagles will be putting out Stan Brown and Ron Wells. Ron Wells has been the shooter this year. Stan Brown, more or less the floor general, making some nice passes. At forward, they'll be starting Irv Smith, who's really been the scorer for the Eagles so far this season, and Pat O'Brien, another gentleman who likes to get the ball down low and put it up from close to the basket. So, Abington against Norristown tonight. The Eagles at 4-1, playing a very tough Abington squad. We'll be back in just a moment with the play-by-play for this evening's ball game. Okay, we're courtside for this ball game. We're just about to have the starting lineups introduced to you here at the Norristown High School Gymnasium. For those of you who haven't been out to the Norristown High School Gymnasium in the past few years, you'll be interested to see the new hardwood floor here that the Eagles have installed. Of course, that was brand new last year, but the floor is still in fine shape. And those of you who haven't seen it, I think you'll be favorably impressed. Out there for the Norristown Eagles, starting at center will be number 14, Theron Ellis. At the guard position, number 3, Stanley Brown, number 10, Ron Wells. The forwards, number 23, Pat O'Brien, and number 22, Irv Smith. Smith, as I say, the leading scorer. Theron Ellis, the leading point blocker. For Abington, number 45, Jerome Martin. Number 51, Josh Nair. Number 33, Sam Rhines. Number 23, Howard Burrell. And number 21, Eric Vaughn will be your starters. Ellis and Martin will be jumping. Tap goes to Abington. They turn the ball over right away, and Stanley Brown takes control for the Eagles as we get underway here. Of course, this year in the PIAA, as we've mentioned, in every game so far this season, a possession rule in effect. There will be no jump balls this evening. All neutral calls will go to the team that has possession as indicated by the possession indicator at the scorer's table, and of course that switches with each subsequent instance. Norristown looks to Theron Ellis. Theron Ellis goes up strong. The layup is good for Ellis. So right away, the Eagles go down low to Theron Ellis. Full court pressure. John Cresswell very vocal on his bench, directing his players on defense. They drop back, let Abington bring the ball across the midcourt line. The jump shot won't go. Rebound, though, by Howard Burrell. Follows his own shot. That one falls for him. So Burrell makes it a 2-point game. And folks, if this first minute is any indication, and that's a double dribble, Ron Wells turned the ball over that time. The Abington's ball from the far sideline in front of their bench. Of course, Abington coached by Jim Wilkinson. Norristown coached by John Cresswell, assisted by Earl Mitchell. Vaughn, air ball, looked inside, nothing there. Irv Smith with a rebound. Stan Brown slows it up as he brings the ball up court. Man-to-man defense. Nope, they drop back into their zone. O'Brien looked inside to Irv Smith, nothing there. And number 23, Howard Burrell, came away with it for the Ghosts. Vaughn, double team, has the ball stripped away, but it's knocked out of bounds. The Ghosts will retain possession. 6:27 remaining in the first quarter. We're tied at 2. Nair. They go right back to Nair. Nice play. It goes up strong. The basket's good. Nope. Travel on the play. No basket. That basket by Nair, no good. He traveled before he went to the hoop. It was a nice play, however, by Nair and number 45, Jerome Martin. Stanley Brown, front of the rim. Rebound by Irv Smith. Goes up strong. Ball's blocked, however, by Martin. And Abington comes away on the fast break. Nice play that time by Sam Rhines. Pardon me, by number 23, Howard Burrell. He's got all 4 Abington points. Nice soft jumper from Howard Burrell. Stan Brown being pressured. Nice move to Ron Wells. Wells takes a pick from Irv Smith. No shot, though. Ellis out high at the top of the key. Stanley Brown drives the lane. He's stripped. There's going to be a foul called on number 33, Sam Rhines. It's a non-shooting foul. Stanley Brown had not yet begun the active shooting, so Norristown will simply bring the ball in bounds. Wells, pump fake. They call Ron Wells for traveling. Ron Wells was guilty of that same infraction several times during the Upper Merion ball game. He's not happy with the call, but nevertheless, Abington takes possession with 5:33 remaining in the first quarter. Shot by Rhines, won't go. Rebound by Nair. Ball's out of bounds off the hands of number 45, Jerome Martin. Eagles take possession. They're down 4-2 with 5:17 remaining in the first quarter. Theron Ellis shot won't go. Rebound by Rhines. He's got a man all alone. The shot's up. Easy layup for number 45, Jerome Martin. 6-4 Abington ahead. Pardon me, 6-2 Abington ahead with under 5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Ellis, ill-advised pass that time. Stolen by Martin. He goes to Burrell. Back to Martin. Foul on the play. It's going to be on number 10, Ron Wells. And just joining me here at courtside, Mr. Alan Raleigh, who was, of course, absent for that Upper Merion game, and we're happy to have him back with us tonight. Alan, good to see you.
Thanks, Jeff. It's really absolutely my pleasure to be here with you.
Alan, I know it's your pleasure. And John Cresswell calls a timeout. The Norristown High cheerleaders take the court. Say hi to Alan. I figured.
I was wondering if this would be loose.
Of course, this game being brought to you by the Norristown Area School District, Mr. Sam Galbraith producing and directing our show this evening, and Mr. Dan Coughlin, home from the University of Dayton, is ably running camera this evening.
You read that, just how he scripted it.
Well, Dan's a good friend, and you like to get the plug in for him whenever possible.
He does the work for free, that's all that matters.
And so do we.
That's true.
At the free throw line, Norristown cheerleaders barely got off the court in time. 1 remaining. Martin missed the first one. Nair violates the lane, but they don't call it. Yes, they do. That basket is no good. Josh Nair that time, number 51, lane violation.
I'm quite impressed there by your play calling. You actually picked that one up.
Oh, Josh Nair with a nice steal, saves the ball to Rhines. I tell you, Nair redeems himself there, and he takes a pass that was intended for Howard Burrell and converts it into a layup. Heck of a play by Josh Nair. 8-2 Abington ahead with 4:30 left to play. Oh, that full court pressure, Alan. Sam Rhines. Rhines goes up strong on number 23, Pat O'Brien. Basket's no good, but a foul on O'Brien, and Forrest Davis, number 11, enters the ball game.
Well, John Cresswell wants another good ball handler out there. Of course, last game for Abington was a romp over PW, and they destroyed the Colonials with their full court press.
Well, I'll tell you what, Abington's doing to Norristown what Norristown did to Upper Merion in a game where the Norristown Eagles just cruised against a much slower Upper Merion ball club. And tonight they've got a team in Abington that is just as quick, if not quicker, than they are.
That's right. I think Norristown matches up well with speed, but the Eagles really haven't found that one consistent ball handler to handle the full court pressure.
Rhines makes 1 of 2, make it 9-2 Ghosts. Irv Smith, he wants the shot, goes up strong, it falls for him, and a foul on the play. Nice play by Irv Smith.
That time the Eagles broke the press nicely. You saw the crisp ball handling, the passing down, and they found the open man, who was Irv Smith.
Somebody had to take charge for Norristown. They weren't even getting down on offense, and that time Irv Smith wanted the shot no matter what. Did a good job. Chance for a three-point play. Nope, short. Rebound, though, by Pat O'Brien. O'Brien, head fake. Good move by O'Brien. Won't fall for him. Smith travels. Darn shame. Irv Smith got tied up with his own man. Stanley Brown forced him to travel.
Exactly. Now the Eagles with a little full court trap of their own.
Vaughn does a good job. Up to Burrell. Burrell doesn't miss anything there. He's got 6 points in this game. 11-4, Ghosts. I'll tell you, really, Norristown does not look comfortable with that full court pressure from Abington. Stanley Brown gets his own rebound after trying to make a reverse layup. He's fouled on the play. The basket's no good. We've got a substitution. Make that 2 substitutions. Entering the ball game for Abington, number 15. That's Charles Griffin. And also into the ball game, number 35, Jerome Culmer, as Nair takes a seat on the bench, as does Vaughn. Brown makes the first. His first point of the ball game. The score 11-5 with 3:32 remaining in the first quarter. Stanley Brown knocks through both free throws. Abington beats the press easily. Culmer is open. Ball is blocked. Martin away with the rebound. Irv Smith with a block. Foul on the play, and I'll tell you, Irv Smith doesn't like the call. We had the same angle as the official. I thought there was a foul there.
Oh, definitely a foul. Jerome Martin that time, a nice play. He realized Irv Smith was going to come on by, try to block the shot. He hung in midair and just waited till Smith made contact on his right wrist.
Martin shooting 2.
I'll tell you, Jeff, Abington can fly up and down the court. Howard Burrell's got to be the fastest player out here. He's like lightning coming down the court in front of us just a moment ago.
That's 3 points for Jerome Martin in this contest. 12-6, Abington up, make it 13-6. Culmer with a steal. That time, Jerome Martin did the Eagles a favor by kicking the ball out of bounds. The difference in this game, Alan, is that Abington is handling Norristown's press with ease, and the Eagles are having all kinds of problems getting the ball up court.
The Eagles are not exhibiting much patience trying to break it, and they're not helping out each other on the floor.
It doesn't seem that they really have any court presence. They don't know where the man's going to be. They don't know where to look for the next player.
Well, you hit it right there, court presence, and that's because of their inexperience, and they lack a true ball handler.
And this Abington squad has that word you just mentioned, experience. Norristown once again goes to the hoop. Burrell all alone. 8 points in the game for Burrell.
At the other end for a moment, Stanley Brown, that's the second time in the last 3 trips down the floor that he's tried to go one-on-one with about 3 Abington defenders on him.
That would make it 1-on-3.
You get my drift.
Another
there he is,
steal.
stripped of the ball.
It's time for a timeout. Stanley Brown knocks the ball out of bounds. When's John Cresswell going to call another one, Alan?
I'm surprised he hasn't called one yet or gone to his bench, which is relatively thin, to try to come up with somebody who can do better against this press.
Sam Rhines, basket's good, foul on the play. Well, with 2:22 remaining in the first quarter, Abington is incredibly successful, 17-6. They're ahead by 11 points in this game.
And the Eagles are on the verge of getting blown out at their own court.
Well, I'll tell you, this is the first contest in Suburban One League National play this year, and you have to believe preseason there is no odds-on favorite to win. Abington has got to be a contender, and I think with Norristown's preseason record, so are they. But if they play this way for the remainder of the ballgame, they can forget it. Rhines missed the free throw attempt. Ron Wells back in the ballgame for Norristown.
See how Abington is forcing Norristown to set up a good 5-8 feet behind the top of the key.
Another steal by Sam Rhines. Howard Burrell again with a breakaway layup. Howard Burrell has 10 points in the game.
We've got a track meet here, and there's still no time out being called by John Cresswell.
Theron Ellis is open. He goes in against Culmer. That's a foul.
Well, Theron that time, I think, was thinking about going for the slam, trying to motivate perhaps his teammates and the fans here, who are a little shell-shocked at the 19-6 score.
Wilkinson goes to the bench again. Coming into the ballgame now, number 11, Aaron Collins. That just goes to show you what depth Jim Wilkinson has. He now has played 9 players in this ballgame already, and they've got a 13-point advantage. He has lost nothing with his substitutions. Ellis misses the first, and the Norristown can't afford that.
Here comes Chris Roberts, number 13, a junior forward.
That's right,
junior guard.
Make it 10 players. There's only 1 starter in there for Abington. Jim Wilkinson's got all his starters on the bench. They're going to be fresh for this ball game. That's good coaching, Alan. Ellis misses both, but Irv Smith gets a rebound. Shot up. Nice turnaround by Irv Smith.
It's also incredible depth by a talented crew. I mean, the Eagles don't have that experience, and they don't have a particularly good junior or senior class. John Cresswell's going to suffer this year. This is one of the few times the Eagles have actually been able to set up in their 2-3 zone. Usually they're just watching Abington going in for the easy layups.
Oh, they go inside to Comer. They fight for the ball. Saved by Abington, but Stanley Brown comes away with it. Now Brown's got to hold up. I don't like that shot at all.
I agree with you.
And then Brown commits an unnecessary foul on Chris Roberts.
Stanley Brown is in charge of the team out there on the floor. He has to show the patience bringing the ball down court. It's no good to repeatedly go up against 3 men by yourself. You're not going to win.
You have 3 Abington players back on defense. You pull up, you wait for your team to get there, you set up your offense and take the shot. You don't take that pull-up 16-foot jumper when you don't have a chance at a rebound.
Especially when you're down by 11 points with a minute to go here in the first quarter. And then committing the foul afterwards, trying to compensate for the poor shot. Doesn't help Norristown either.
No, that compounds matters, I'm afraid, as Chris Roberts makes his first. And I'm really getting mad at Jim Wilkinson. If he uses more players, I'm going to be extremely upset. I just get to learn the starting 5, and he puts in 5 new players.
I walked in late. I have no chance.
Second one's good as well. Abington up 21-8 with 1:12 left to go in the first. Brown across the midcourt line. Double team. Finds Forrest Davis. Irv Smith is open. Layup's good. Foul on the play. And that's what Norristown needed. That's a mistake by number 35, Jerome Comer. And I'm sure Wilkinson's going to let him know about it.
Irv Smith has been about the most consistent performer out here in this poor first quarter for the Eagles. Of course, their leading scorer at the moment was 6 points. Has a chance to complete a 3-point play here.
In and out, won't go. Outlet, Theron Ellis is back. No, there's nothing you can do to defense that shot. Number 15, Charles Griffin, makes a 14-foot jumper. Forrest Davis waits for Brown. He's got Ellis on his right. Irv Smith down in the corner. Loses control momentarily. Brown, back to Smith. Smith, fake, lock, follow, no good. Ron Wells with a follow. And finally a foul called on number 45, Jerome Martin.
Well, Ron just kept going up and down there and eventually was able to draw a foul. He'll be heading to the line.
26 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
Eagles did the right thing that time. They tried to work the ball down low to Irv Smith. He missed. Wells fouled with the rebound and then picked up the foul. It's 2 shots. Wells will get a second attempt here.
Wells makes 1 of 2. His first point of the game. Full court pressure from Norristown. Comer is back deep. Nice pass. Ellis up for the block. Intimidation. Ron Wells gets his pocket pick. Comer comes back. Another block. That's a tough call against Abington, but I think an accurate one by the official. There were 3 players all over the Abington player. Number, was it 13, Chris Roberts? Yeah. Basket's no good. He'll shoot 2.
Ron Wells that time made a crucial mistake. He looked up at the clock, forgot where the ball was. Theron Ellis partially saved him by blocking the follow-up, but then the foul caught and Abington at the line once again, as you said.
First one's good for Roberts. Pardon me, not Roberts, number 45, Jerome Martin.
They did make a change. Roberts originally went to the line, and then they called over Martin. And here come 3 more substitutions for you, Jeff Brandon.
Tell you what, here come the 4 starters back into the ballgame. I'll take that any day of the week. I know these guys. Burrell, Vaughn, Nair, and Rhines back into the ballgame. So Wilkinson brings his starters back off for the last 8 seconds of the first quarter. Martin makes them both. He's got 6 points in the game. Abington cruising. A 14-point lead, 25-11. Stanley Brown at the buzzer. It's good. Well, that's a bright spot, I suppose. 25-13 to score. The Eagles down by 12 after 1 quarter.
Well, remember, it always could be worse.
Absolutely. And the Abington High School cheerleaders on the floor for you at this time.
That's not bad. 25-13. How many times do you see the Eagles losing by 12 points at the end of 1 quarter in Norristown's gymnasium?
How many times have you seen Norristown score 9 points and a half and then come back to win?
You're referring to that game, if you can call it a game, I guess a debacle against Plymouth Whitemarsh. Hopefully that same schizophrenic team will show up here later in this contest and make a game of this one.
And what I'd like to mention while we have a break of the action, Bill Werkheiser in the stands this evening for this ball game. Now the head coach of the Del Val boys basketball team. I tried to coerce Bill into coming over and taking a seat with us. He said, "No, I'm done with that." I said, "Okay, Bill."
Boy, he's getting too big time for us now.
He's big time.
Going back into coaching, leaving us, abandoning us.
Also here this evening, Dr. Frank Bishop and his son Steve Bishop, a standout last year for the Norristown High Eagles at guard. Norristown brings the ball in to begin the second quarter. Once again, I'll remind you, there are no jump balls this year in high school basketball other than the one to begin the game.
And that errant pass picked off by Abington. A short little 8-footer that time by number 23, Harold Burrell, a returning starter, 12 points now, the leading scorer in this ball game. Brown gets it down to Smith. Smith driving the lane, loses the ball, no foul called despite the contact. Coming up with it was number 45, Jerome Martin. Abington displaying patience on the offensive end. They find the open man once again. It's Howard Burrell. Same shot he hit to start this second quarter. A little 8-footer on the left side of the baseline. Eagles once again having problems breaking the Abington press. Theron Ellis going down, dishing off to Brown. Brown, no good, high off the glass, and it falls right into the hands of Abington once more.
I'll tell you what, Alan, I think this is the game that John Cresswell was waiting for. He came over to us after that Plymouth Whitemarsh game and said, "I don't know what to expect for the rest of this season."
He's not getting much, I'll tell you that.
He really doesn't know what his potential is. And I'll tell you, every game so far has been close except that Upper Merion game where Norristown coasted to a win. And I think the Norristown Eagles are getting a rude awakening here this evening at their home court.
Well, I think it was interesting. Coach Cresswell said to us that he basically has just a couple of problems. No size and no shooters. Abington finally misses from outside.
I'll tell you.
They must be shooting a good 80% from the field. Howard Burrell especially.
John Cresswell's probably got some nasty words for Howard Burrell. That time, number 22, Irv Smith, with a nice basket.
That gives Irv 8 points now. 29-15 your score. The Eagles down by 14. A little over 6 minutes to go in the first half here at Norristown's gymnasium. Abington with the big lead. They drive. Theron Ellis, another block shot. Abington recovers. Theron gets his hand on it again. The Ghost just controlling the boards, but finally a traveling call. So Norristown getting it on the turnover. Pat O'Brien, number 23. Ball in the hands now, right now, of Ron Wells, number 10. O'Brien now to Smith. Has Ellis open. Ellis going in for the slam. He misses it, and he is fouled in the process.
I'll tell you, Josh Nair got in there, and Theron Ellis said, "The heck with you, I'm going to slam it anyway." Of course, he missed the shot, but that was nice extension. He started from the side of the lane where the blue paint begins. That's where he leaped into the air, and he came mighty close to slamming the ball. Ellis fakes the first.
Ellis, not the prettiest free throw shooter you'll ever see.
No, but he's quite an athlete, physically very strong. Anyone who's seen him on the football field can attest to that.
Irvin Smith. I'll tell you, Irv Smith that time battled for the rebound, kept it alive by tipping it, and finally is rewarded by a trip to the free throw line.
Alan, you just mentioned Theron Ellis, it was announced today, was named to the All-State football team today.
First team
All-State at defensive end.
Theron Ellis, of course, this season set a Norristown record for 14 quarterback sacks.
And he was involved in 129 tackles, I believe, this season. Phenomenal statistics for a man who also played on the offensive line.
You better believe the college recruiters will be knocking on football coach's door. That's Roger Brove. Of course, the Eagles with a steal. Pat O'Brien going in, and he gets the easy layup. So the Eagles defense converting a couple of turnovers into a few quick buckets. And Abington coach Jim Wilkinson immediately calls a timeout. His team, though, still up 29-19 with 5.5 minutes left in this first half.
And Norristown climbing back into this ball game, and that's what Jim Wilkinson wants to avoid. Nice defensive pressure that the last 2 times down the court by Norristown. Pat O'Brien with that last steal. And of course, I'm sorry, Alan, of course that came off the missed free throw of Irv Smith.
Well, the Eagles are going to the boards a little more aggressively. They're getting their share of rebounds now, and consequently they're able to run the ball. When they can run, the Abington squad cannot use their full court press, which harassed them so much in the first quarter. Not a bad crowd here this evening, all things considered. Of course, the major factor with about an inch of snow out in the parking lot as we speak.
I was about to mention that. Of course, this game being shown you on tape delay. But the evening on which this game was played, nice snowfall coming down, folks.
Who's crazier, the fans or us for showing up?
Sam Rhines beats the pressure. Colmer goes to Martin. Pat O'Brien picks his pocket.
Another alert steal there by Pat O'Brien, getting his hand in and knocking the ball away. O'Brien decides to take the open jumper. It bounces off the rim. Theron Ellis skying from the left side of the free throw line and popping it through. Eagles caught back on defense. Only Ellis was waiting, and we are going to have a foul on Ron Wells.
Ron Wells that time tried to get back to help out Theron Ellis, who committed that time by leaping in the air to block a potential shot by Howard Burrell. Good look by Burrell.
Forrest Davis now checking back into the ball game. Let's see who he's going to replace. Ron Wells coming out.
Short-lived stay on the court there for Ron Wells. Wells, of course, got hot in that Plymouth Whitemarsh game, brought the Eagles right back into it, and helped them surge into the lead.
Well, he's your typical streak shooter, and unfortunately he has a very cold hand this evening. Jerome Colmer misses that first free throw. And he bricks 2. Theron pulling down the board. The Eagles having a chance now to cut their deficit to 6 points. They're down 29-21. 4.5 minutes to go in the first half. Smith bounce pass, ill-advised one at that. Trying to go to Pat O'Brien, who was cutting across the lane. It's picked off by Abington. Sam Rhines waiting for the ball, gets it now, decides to bounce pass down low. Fadeaway jumper, no good. It's tapped around, and finally the Eagles get a break and come down with the rebound. Smith takes the feed from Brown and goes in for the layup. Irvin Smith now with 11 points. The Eagles within 6, 29-23, 4 minutes to go, second quarter. And a follow through there by Jerome Martin.
I'll tell you, Norristown climbing right back into this ball game now. And finally they're taking advantage of some missed shots by Abington. If they could have cleared the boards that last time, they could have drawn to within 3 points.
Did you see Howard Burrell just absolutely streak right by Irv Smith last time down the floor?
That time, Irv Smith can't handle a nice bounce pass from Stanley Brown. The Eagles turn the ball over. Down by 8, they've got to climb a little bit closer.
What was their biggest deficit in this game, Jeff?
Biggest deficit was 14 points.
So as you can see, 31-23 is our score now. Oh, the Eagles get a break there as it rolls out.
And of course, Abington had cleared away from the boards that time as that ball stayed up on the rim.
Exactly.
So it helped the Eagles out, and Theron Ellis had a clear rebound.
Howard Burrell right now the leading scorer in this ball game, 14 points. Jerome Martin, second top man for the Ghosts. He has 8. For the Eagles, Irvin Smith, the big gun, 11 points. Stanley Brown has 4. Theron Ellis has 5. Ron Wells with just a single tally. Pat O'Brien with a bucket. Eagles inbounding it to the left of us. Forrest Davis taking the pass from Brown. Brown waving Davis to go down court. He's going to take it himself over the timeline. Gets it to Pat O'Brien right in front of the Abington bench. Forrest Davis cutting. Dishes it back to O'Brien. Goes strong to the hoop. And he gets the underhand reverse layup. Nice give and go that time between Davis and O'Brien. Well executed play. Eagles down 31-25. O'Brien just misses the steal there on the sidelines. Wide open jumper, no good. In there, though, Abington for the rebound, and Theron Ellis ends up going right over Aaron Collins' back.
I tell you, Pat O'Brien made a beautiful play on offense that last time. Did it all himself. Nice reverse layup. But on missing that steal on the sideline, he took himself out of the play, and that allowed Abington to get a nice rebound there. They had all kinds of position in the world because Theron Ellis was the only one there.
You're right.
So it cost Norristown that time.
But you know, I think in Norristown's position right now, still trailing by 6 points, and the way they've been playing this contest, I'm sure that John Cresswell would rather see Pat O'Brien and others take those gambling opportunities. Eagles once again getting lucky under the boards. Smith, or Brown, can't hold on to the ball, though. Here we go, the other end. Ellis going for the block. Could have been a goaltending, but it wasn't, but they get the easy layup. Who popped it in there? Collins?
That was number 11, Aaron Collins, yes.
Forrest Davis now at the other end. The Eagles starting to play a little sloppy out on the floor. They're down 33-25, 2.5 to go in the second. Smith giving a move, decides to pull back, take the 15-footer. Hits the glass right into the hands of Ellis to O'Brien, who rims it. Too easy of a shot, and Smith finally follows through.
Nice play by Irv Smith. Pat O'Brien missed an easy shot that time. Theron Ellis dished off to him.
I think Pat O'Brien was shocked that he was only 2 feet away from the basket. Aaron Collins holds up, misses it. It goes off O'Brien's hand. We're going to have a foul. It's going to be called on Jerome Comer going over the top of O'Brien.
And I tell you, it just shows you the benefit of Theron Ellis, where you can have that full court pressure and let Abington have 2 players back, because Theron Ellis is so intimidating on defense, he's going to force Abington to think about whatever they do, whether they're 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 against him.
Well, we've seen Abington repeatedly here this evening pull up for the little 8 to 10 foot jumpers, and there's only one reason for that. It's Ellis's presence on the court. They don't want to drive inside because they know this is a guy who averages around 8 block shots a ball game.
If Theron Ellis were not out there for Norristown High School, they would be blown out of the arena tonight. No question about it, because he has made them miss so many shots, especially in the second quarter. O'Brien hits 1 of 2 to cut the Abington lead to 5 points.
Darian Smith waiting in front of the scorer's table to check in for John Cresswell's crew. 33-28. 2 minutes to go in the first half. Eagles were down by as many as 14 points in this one, folks. That time the follow through by Howard Burrell, now with 16 points in the contest, easily the high scorer.
And Burrell at 6 feet, not exactly the biggest player on the floor, but doing a great job. O'Brien loses it, jump ball, it's going to be Abington.
Exactly.
Abington's possession.
That's the effect of the new rule now. They play it just as they do in colleges, no more tip up.
Vaughn comes back into the ball game, as does Josh Nair. And wait a minute, number 55 now entering the game for the first time.
Alan Mitchell.
Alan Mitchell, 6'4". That young man has some weight to him.
He has a lot of weight to him.
He is not thin.
He could lean on Theron a little. Minute and a half here in the second. Ellis momentarily tips it. Abington has the open man. It's Burrell. He misses. Ellis tips, and it goes right back into the hands of Abington. That time, number 45. Let's see, that is Jerome Martin. A strong move to the hoop.
Tell you what, Howard Burrell had a heck of a pick that last time down the floor as Mitchell stood out there. It wasn't anybody going to get by Alan Mitchell.
There we see Brown trapped right in front of us. He loses the ball, and Abington misses the easy layup, but right there we see number 21. Who was that? Eric Vaughn with the follow-through, and he draws the whistle.
That's a sorry play that time for Norristown. They go down. Forrest Davis wisely did not foul Abington. The Abington player somehow missed the shot. Vaughn was right there for the follow, and then they undercut Vaughn on the follow-up.
And if you're going to do that, make sure he doesn't hit the basket. Let him work and earn his 2 points at the line rather than have a chance at a three-pointer. And that's what Vaughn gets. So once again, Jeff, the Eagles find themselves trailing by 12. They had cut their deficit to 6. Davis, a lob pass to Brown, has Smith wide open, and he misses the easy layup, but he is pounded. He will be taking a trip to the line. A very cheap foul that time on Mitchell.
That's a bit of a mismatch there. Irv Smith and Alan Mitchell. Mitchell must outweigh him by 70 or 80 pounds. It's just a shame that Irv Smith missed the basket. Norristown could have used a three-point play there. They had to cut the 5 out. It was 33 to 28. It's now 40 to 28 with 55 seconds remaining in the first half.
And they were only looking at that 5-point deficit about a minute and a half ago. Here we have 55 seconds left to go in the first half. They're down by 12. And another missed free throw certainly won't help them.
Not exactly a high percentage team are the Norristown Eagles.
Well, they certainly do play in streaks.
Nothing but nine out, and then Smith comes back and touches nothing but the bottom of the net. I have to give Irv Smith credit, though. He's got 14 points in this game. He's holding them in there.
Eagles with a very lackluster press that time. Mitchell travels.
That's the kind of break Norristown can use.
Especially since there was only one man back on defense. Brown once again getting harassed. Dribbles right through a crowd. Behind the back, he loses it. Davis goes for the ball. We are going to have a foul.
Norris Davis, I believe.
How many times do we have to say that Stanley Brown is not doing a great job out there this evening, controlling the ball? It's not a knock on the young man. It's just simply he's having his problems with the Abington press. And I'm sure that is all due to the inexperience. He didn't get much playing time last season.
Certainly not as much as John Cresswell would have liked him to have.
Exactly. Because John Cresswell realized that a strength of the Eagles has always been their fine guard play. And he realized last season, because of a weak junior and sophomore class, he wasn't going to have anybody coming up to the varsity.
And that time, Abington missed the first end of a 1-and-1. Davis, feeds Ellis nicely. Ellis wasn't watching, and then Stanley Brown takes his eye off the ball, and the ball falls out of bounds. This is ridiculous. Theron Ellis was wide open. He wasn't ready for the pass.
And you thought the PW game was bad.
Well, they're down by 11. They still got a shot in this ballgame. They could go into the locker room 13 down as we hit 10 seconds to go in the first half. Rhines. Howard Burrell is fouled with less than a second to go in the first half.
Not a real bright play.
That's a great play.
Yeah, if you're an Abington fan. A stupid play if you're viewing it from John Cresswell's perspective.
You have to be aware of the clock. Burrell had no chance to get another shot up, and they foul him on the rebound, give him a chance to make two. And I'll lay 100 to 1 he makes both of these.
The awareness of the clock back. Remember, Ron Wells takes his eyes off the ball with 8 seconds to go in the first quarter and has it stripped, and Abington gets an easy bucket. Here with 1 second to go, Burrell at the line.
Well, I lose my $100, but he makes one of two, Burrell does, and they go into the locker room up by 12, 41 to 29. We'll be back in just a moment with our halftime look at the first half of scoring.
I'll tell you, for this, you would have stayed at work.
41 to 29 the score. The Abington Ghost way out in front of the Norristown Eagles. I'm Jeff Brandon here with Alan Raleigh. Some of you haven't seen Alan for quite some time, but here he is back on camera. It's good to have him with us. Alan,
give me a break.
Not exactly a stellar first half for the Norristown Eagles.
No, we were just told here Norristown 17 first half turnovers, and the big reason, the Abington full court pressure.
Absolutely. Norristown has been inept at best in handling the full court pressure put on by the Galloping Ghosts. And I'll tell you what, if Norristown cannot handle that pressure in the second half, they might as well write this game off right now. Abington is having no problem with the Norristown defensive pressure, except for a period in the middle of that second quarter when Norristown made a run at Abington. They brought it back to a 5-point deficit. Now it's back to 12 points. Norristown's in big trouble, and especially if Howard Burrell remains as hot as he has been in this ballgame. Burrell already was 17 first half points.
That's right. I think the Eagles have to be a little more patient on offense, trying to work through the press, and they have to work as a team. So many times I'm seeing guys trying to get out when they have 3 men around them, and nobody else is coming back to help them out to accept the pass. We've also seen Stanley Brown have some tremendous pressure here put on him this evening. He has probably been the the one bothered most by the Abington press, other than Norristown coach John Cresswell, who is not a real happy man at this moment as his team comes back on the floor here trailing by 12 points, as you said, 41-29. I think the key for the Eagles, they have to work the ball inside, take up a little more time, and take advantage of having Smith and Ellis down low. And that way, they won't get into a run-and-gun type of affair.
Exactly. Norristown obviously can't run as well as Abington can, especially with Howard Burrell, who's somebody that Abington knows they can go to. They want to drop the ball down. Howard Burrell's open. They'll give him the shot. Norristown doesn't have anybody like that. They don't have somebody who's going to be the scorer for them, someone who they want to give it to, someone they're sure of. That doesn't exist for Norristown this year. That means they've got to slow the ball down. Just like you said, they've got to play their set offense more than Abington needs to. And tonight they haven't done it in the first half.
And the key thing here, by slowing things down, you take advantage of Theron Ellis' skills as a rebounder and as a shot blocker. If you get into a running game, Theron is not going to be able to keep up the pace, and you're negating his presence underneath the boards, both offensive and defensively.
That's exactly right. Ellis, of course, has maintained that presence here in this ball game, even though it has been a run-and-gun type of offensive style for both teams. Ellis has changed, innumerable shots here for the Abington Ghosts, but you can't do it all by yourself. I mean, eventually you get those follow-up shots, and that's where Abington had most of their bread and butter in that second quarter on the follow-ups. They were there for the rebounds.
Exactly, and for example, how many times have we seen Abington players come up, they could have driven into the lane, but Ellis is back there. Instead, they'll just elect to take the little 6 to 10 foot jumper. If Norristown is able to slow down the tempo of this contest, if O'Brien can give Ellis a little support underneath both sides of the boards, I think they have a slight chance to get back into this game. I think Abington is the far better squad, but it's never easy to come into Norristown's den and beat the Eagles here.
Okay, let's run down the scoring for you very quickly. For Abington High School, Howard Burrell leads all scorers with 17 points. Jerome Martin with 10 points. Charles Griffin with 2. Eric Vaughn with 3. Aaron Collins off the bench with 2. Sam Rhines with 3. Josh Nair, your starting center, with 2. And Chris Roberts off the bench with 2. For the Norristown Eagles,
Of course, Irvin Smith has been the big gun, 14 points in this ball game. After that, it drops off significantly. Pat O'Brien and Theron Ellis each with 5 points, Stanley Brown with 4, and Ron Wells with a single tally. If Wells could get hot from the outside, John Cresswell would be a much happier man.
Okay, Alan and I'll be back in just a moment for the second half of play here at Norristown High School.
We're about ready for the second half of action. I'm Alan Raleigh along with Jeff Brandon. This game, as usual, being brought to you by the Norristown Area School District. Sam Galbraith doing the producing and directing this evening. Dan Coughlin along for the ride, the run camera for us. The Eagles taking the ball out right in front of us. We'll run down the starting lineup in the backcourt. Number 10, Ron Wells, along with Stanley Brown. He is number 3. He has the ball at the moment. At center, Theron Ellis, number 14. He goes right back out now to Brown, who pops from 15 feet out. So give Stanley Brown credit for the first bucket of this second half. Rounding out the Eagles' front line, we have number 23, Pat O'Brien, number 22, Irvin Smith. Abington up 41-31. Their biggest lead in this ball game was 14 points late in the first quarter. Eagles had trimmed it to 5 midway through the second frame, but they came into halftime trailing by 12. Theron Ellis now with the board. Stanley Brown up, trying to get the Norristown deficit back into single digits.
I think I figured out why you're going to announce this third quarter. You figure Abington's going to be clearing their bench in the fourth quarter, and you want me to have all those name changes. Isn't that right?
Well, you were so busy on the sidelines.
Oh, come on, admit to it, Alan. Admit to it.
Shaking hands. I had to do something.
Garnering votes.
Howard Burrell in there for a layup. We've been saying that all evening long. He now with 19 points. Excuse
Just what
me.
he needed, more points.
Joining Burrell out there, who is number 23, is number 33, Sam Rhines. Also, number 51, Josh Nair, the 6'4 center. Number 45, Jerome Martin. And number 21, Eric Vaughn. Double dribble that time.
Tell you, even when Norristown manages to get the pass, they can't seem to hold on to it. I don't understand what the problem is.
43-31. 6 minutes to go here in the third quarter.
I'll tell you, that guy Howard Burrell,
he can do anything he wants tonight.
If he's not first team Suburban 1 League, I don't know who is. This is early in the season, but that young man can play basketball.
And he is so smooth out there, both sides of the ball.
John
Eagles
Cresswell, very vocal on the sideline, setting up his team's offense.
Pat O'Brien almost had his pocket picked that time when he took a look down low. O'Brien decides to drive, has Irvin Smith, tries to use an O'Brien pick, misses it. Ellis goes for the tip, it's bounced out. Here goes Burrell, folks. Easy layup.
I'm going to run off the page with Howard Burrell. I'm going to have to drop down to Jerome Martin's scoring block. Timeout for John Cresswell, and I got to believe Pat O'Brien's coming out of the ball game. I don't think John Cresswell was very happy with his ball handling in the first 3 minutes, first 2.5 minutes of this second half.
Correct me if I'm wrong, as you usually do.
And you know I will.
Howard Burrell has all 6 of Abington's points here in the third quarter.
Correct. He had 17 points and now has 23.
So nice to be right occasionally.
Well, it happens like what, 4 times a season?
True. I think in the 7 years I've been doing these games, it's happened at least a dozen or so times I can recall.
I always give you credit, though. Exactly every time you do something right, I let you know about it. It's reinforcement, Alan. Pavlov and all that.
Positive reinforcement. Coming out for the Eagles now, Forrest Davis, number 11, Ron Wells out there, along with Stanley Brown, Theron Ellis, and Irvin Smith. As you said, Pat O'Brien taking a seat on the bench. Eagles essentially going with a 3-guard lineup here. Wells with just 1 point in this ball game. That pass almost picked off. Abington hustling on defense. Around the rim, no good for Brown. It just won't fall.
I wish Stanley Brown started making some of those.
He's got an unorthodox way of unloading that jumper. Abington in the driver's seat right now.
Would you say an unorthodox way of pulling the trigger?
Unloading, pulling. Pick your cliche.
Oh, Vaughn.
Now that's the way to shoot him. Eric Vaughn, excuse me, with that easy 10-footer. Irvin Smith wide open, a defensive lapse by Abington.
Now, good play by Irv Smith to not put that ball on the court, to turn around and take the shot. Don't give the defense a chance to get back.
Now the Eagles trying to use a little full-court pressure. Abington breaks through it quickly. They do have that explosive speed. Burrell loses it.
Oh, tough play against Norristown. Ellis tried to throw the ball off of Josh Nair, but it wound up hitting Ellis's leg before it left play.
Nair inbounding it.
Over the top, Forrest Davis.
You've got it. That's going to send Jerome Martin to the line, I believe.
You know, I wish we had an opportunity to speak with Bill Werkheiser at halftime. I would have been interested to hear what his impression was of that first half. Nice save that time by Burrell. Vaughn wants another one. He's got the hot hand now. That's all Norristown needs, is another hot hand for Abington.
Blocking foul called that time on, I believe it will be Martin, Jerome Martin.
Take a look at that scoreboard, Alan. It's 51-33.
Well, it looks bleak.
In less than 4 minutes, Abington has opened up an 18-point lead. Norristown was in this game at the end of the first half. I don't know if they are now.
Well, I'm leaving at the end of the third quarter, so you can do the fourth one yourself. Have fun.
Now, why Stanley Brown didn't take that shot when he had the pick, I don't know.
That basket did not count. Someone from Norristown will be heading to the line.
Now, we don't mean to be particularly rough on Stanley Brown. I guess it's just the fact that being the floor general for Norristown, he has seen the majority of problems with that full court press, and I think he's trying to compensate for it by coming back on offense and being the scorer to get his team back into it. I suppose it's just because he wants Norristown to climb back into this game that he's being so hard pressed. He's got 7 points in the game.
Stanley Brown, as are the rest of the Eagles, are simply inexperienced and they're not quite ready for a matchup as tough as Abington. You said it earlier, John Cresswell is waiting to see what would happen in this ballgame, to see what type of team he has. Ellis pulling down the board. Forrest Davis running it up now. Has an open man, and Smith, who elects to take the 10-footer. It bounces off the side of the rim, off of Wells' hands. But it's going to be Norristown ball because it finally did go out that time on number 35, Jerome Comer.
What interests me is that all of those Abington players are aggressive on the offensive and defensive boards. They all go after the ball. They don't leave it to Sam Rhines or Jerome Martin. Circus shot that time from Stanley Brown. He's fouled again. And Ken Cool is going to enter the game, Alan, a freshman. And I think he's going to come in for Ron Wells. John Cresswell's looking for a shooting touch.
Exactly. Cool noted for his outside ability.
If that young man matures the way some people think he will, he could be a star for Norristown the next 2 or 3 years. And I hate to say that because you don't want to put pressure on someone at this stage of his basketball career, but he has gotten all the rave reviews at every stage of his performance so far. Right through middle school last year.
Yes.
Brown made both, so it's 37-51. The Eagles down by 14 with 3:27 to go in the third.
Davis with the steal. Let's see if the Eagles can capitalize on the turnover. Brown going right to the hole, and he misses the layup. Oh, and the bounce goes Abington's way, right out of the hands of Theron Ellis.
Timeout Abington. Alan, you and I were just discussing the fact that Norristown High School has always had someone upon which to rely at the guard position. There have been guards through the years. You could just go to last year with Steve Bishop. You have Frank Dobbs, who was my year in school. Curry Mayo, the year before that.
Bernard Bryant back when they won the district championship in 1980.
Always somebody to control the ball for Norristown High. And this is just a year when nothing fell right for John Cresswell as far as the team is concerned. You know, that's not to knock the Eagles, their season already. They're 4-1. Let's give them some credit for that. But in this Suburban 1 League competition, they're outclassed so far tonight. And I think it's no height and nobody to take control.
And the bright spot, though, for the Norristown Eagles, Stanley Brown's only a junior. He's getting the experience. He's being thrown into the fire. Now, we're relatively early in the season. We've got at least 12 more games to go, and plus he has a senior year to look forward to. So this will only benefit Cresswell's crew in the long run.
I think John's also hoping that somebody with some height either transfers to Norristown or starts coming up through the middle schools. I think he's going to go out and start canvassing East Arton, Stewart, and Eisenhower for some bodies.
Putting an ad in the Inquirer probably, too. Any city players that want to play in the suburbs.
That's right. Room and board in the suburbs.
You know, it runs in a cycle, though. Really, if you look at it, the one break Norristown has is no one else in Suburban 1 League play really has that tall, dominating player.
Smart play by Forrest Davis that time to let that ball go out of bounds. It was tipped by Charles Griffin, number 15.
Theron Ellis that time with the bucket. 51-39, 2.5 to go. Brown hounding his man. Eagles playing some tough man-to-man defense right here. The Eagles going man-to-man, falling out of their zone, trying to get back into this ball game. That is probably the first errant shot I've seen Abington take all evening.
That call's against Theron Ellis. That's a tough foul. Theron went up for that air ball, and number 45, Jerome Martin, came away with it. They call Ellis for holding.
Non-shooting situation. And Ellis finally tips the rebound to Davis. He lobs it up floor to Irvin Smith, who goes in for the layup. Nice control exhibited by Irvin Smith there, the Eagles' leading scorer. He has 18 points in the game. A steal now. Brown with it, and he goes in. Stanley Brown coming up with a crucial bucket. He now has 12 points, the second leading gun for the Eagles. 51-43, the Eagles back now within 8.
Oh, if that's a foul on Ken Poole, I don't like the call.
You and about 300 people here in the gymnasium.
I'll tell you what, that was either a travel or it was a clean block because Ken Poole didn't touch anything but ball there. I'm afraid the official didn't really have position to make that call.
No, the Eagles now going to the man-to-man. They've cut their deficit, as we said, to 8 points. They were down by how many? 18 here at one time.
18. And Stanley Brown with a big play that time to convert that layup. Oh, they throw the inbounds pass away. And Abington, I think Jim Wilkinson's going to call timeout real fast.
Well, you get the sense that the The momentum is slowly turning here now, and it's going in Norristown's favor. And I'm surprised he hasn't called a timeout.
Josh Nair back into the ball game.
Theron Ellis looking for someone, finally gets it to Stanley Brown, who comes back for him. Brown, some nice ball handling. He loses it, his pocket is picked. Abington comes up with it. The layup is missed. Here comes Forrest Davis now with the ball.
We're going to have offensive goaltending. It's going to be on number 21, Eric Vaughn.
He went up and he hit the glass that time, you're right. What a strange sequence of events, though.
This game is really getting wild and woolly. I'm surprised there aren't more Abington fans here. Norristown always takes a big contingent up to Abington High School for the second game. Of course, they'll play them twice this year.
Well, I think the weather probably scared a lot of people off.
You're right. That's probably what it is.
Except us, who were foolish enough to show up. Forrest Davis. Here comes Abington now, Jeff, with that full court press again. Eagles breaking it that time. Irvin Smith doing the wise thing. You pull the ball back out and set up.
Absolutely.
There's no need to rush things when you're only down by 8. You've got a minute to go here in the third quarter. Poole with the ball. And he misses the layup. Smith skies for the rebound, puts it through, and he is going to the line with a chance to make a three-pointer. Irvin Smith coming through in the clutch for the Eagles here. I'll tell you, Smith and Stanley Brown have really just changed the entire tempo of this ball game in the third quarter. Smith now with 20 points. Brown with 12 points, most of them in the third frame. The Eagles down by 6, make it 5. 51-46, a minute to go in the third. The Eagles down by as many as 18 points in the opening minutes of this third quarter. They were down by 12 at intermission. And suddenly it's Abington that has to regroup now on the floor. Ellis goes for the block, misses it. The ball comes down in Nair's hand, airballs it. We are going to have foul, though, on Stanley Brown.
And Howard Burrell touched the ball during that sequence for the first time in about 4 minutes. And I think that's the difference. They have not given the ball to the man who's kept them into the ball game, given that big lead, Howard Burrell. He's got 23 points, and he had 23 after, what, a minute and a half?
Well, he reeled off the first 6 points,
That's right.
And he hasn't scored since.
He hasn't scored since.
And let's face it, you go to the hot hand.
Jerome Martin gets the roll. This game has certainly been one of scoring spurts.
Oh, but the big clutch rebound there by Abington.
Tough break for Norristown.
52-46. So what looked like a blowout could turn into an exciting fourth quarter. Abington wisely setting up here. They've got time on their side, looking for that last shot. 30 seconds left to go. They're just working the ball, trying to get it down low.
Well, I heard the slap that time. Irv Smith has nothing to complain about there.
Sam Ryan's going to be taking a trip to the line here.
Be 1-1.
Pat O'Brien coming back into the ball game now. He's going to be replacing
Stanley Brown.
Stanley Brown, okay.
I think John Cresswell wants Stan Brown to cool off a little bit. He's got 4 fouls. One more, and John Cresswell's in big trouble, especially the way Stanley Brown has played in this third quarter. We really gave him a hard time about his play in the first half, but he's redeemed himself a great deal in this third quarter. Rhines makes the first.
That just shows you the type of player he can eventually develop into. Only a junior, but he's come back with a strong effort to lead the Eagles in this comeback. He along with Irv Smith.
Those are 2 big free throws.
54-46, 27 seconds left to go here. Davis having problems getting it in. Finally gets it to Theron Ellis. Ellis in a crowd. You don't want to see Theron dribble the ball that much.
Now, and Abington once again benefits. It's their ball. Now, wait a minute. Shouldn't they change that when the teams change direction at the halves? Because we haven't had another call. Oh, I guess it happens when you bring the ball in bounds. Does it change possessions then? I don't know.
You've got me. All I know is that when Theron Ellis is dribbling the ball at midcourt, you've got problems.
Well, he's certainly a better ball handler this year than he was last year.
Somebody should have been there. My point is that somebody should have been there to help him out. Forrest Davis tried to, but he got there too late. O'Brien battling for the rebound. Davis pulling it down. That's it, folks. End of 3 quarters. 54-46. The Eagles entered the third frame down by 12 points. They found themselves staring at an 18-point deficit. They cut it to 5. We enter the final 8 minutes, and they're down by 8.
Well, Norristown chopped 4 points off of that Abington advantage. certainly can't hurt them going into this fourth quarter, but it could have been closer.
And mathematically, if you take a look at it, really they knocked off 10 points because they were down by 18.
That's right, absolutely right. This game could have been a wash right now. Abington up by 18 points, Eagles cut it back to 8.
And it looked like a rout when Burrell came out here and hooped the first 6 points of the quarter.
Norristown High cheerleaders on the floor for you. Along with the Norristown Eagle, famed in song and story. No? Okay, all right.
I'm not saying anything.
No, I know you're not.
The team mascot, the spiritual leader. Want any more cliches? The man who motivates the Eagles.
The heart and soul.
What, you're not talking about John Cresswell? I'll tell you, the Eagle has gone down hills in recent years. So I remember about 5 years ago, it was Scott, I think his name was Scott Buchanan. He used to balance a wheelbarrow off his nose during the halftime. Extremely entertaining fellow.
They used to have them that they'd run across the floor, too, and slide on their knees like the rest of the final 30 feet. That was entertaining. That was good, clean American fun. You just don't see that stuff anymore, Al. Well, Eagles benefit that they'll be bringing the ball in to begin this fourth quarter. Pat O'Brien right in front of us here at courtside.
He's got a loud whistle.
Right next to us, as a matter of fact. Oh, that was almost over and back. Ken Cool has the ball knocked out of bounds. Forrest Davis comes outside to help. Davis drives the lane. Basket's good. What a play by Forrest Davis.
I didn't even know he had it in him. That was a beauty. He just took off at the free throw line and went right in.
First basket of the game, Alan. Norristown within 6 of Abington with 7:29 left to go in the ball game. Vaughn pulls up. Oh, I'll tell you, nice shot by Eric Vaughn.
Boy, that'll kill you.
9 points. I like to get into the action once in a while. That time we almost had a rebound, but that's okay.
Well, that's your dedication. I'm impressed. By the way, Mitchell, number 55, in there for Abington.
Ken Cool almost throws the ball away. Yes, he definitely throws the ball away as Abington comes away with it. Eagles down by 8. Eric Vaughn slows the ball down.
And Stanley Brown immediately getting up off the bench. Even though he has 4 fouls, he's coming back in for Cool.
Well, John Cresswell says, hey, look, we got it back. Let's not lose it right away.
Oh, it's now or never.
Ellis goes to Irv Smith. Smith in for the layup. Nice play by Irvin Smith.
How many points now? Look at the other end. Wide open. Fuller. Hey, Jeff, how many times do we say that? If you're going to give the foul, make sure the guy doesn't get the easy basket, right? A terrible play that time. A great hustling play by Irvin Smith, who gets down at the other end, but instead of undercutting his man and making sure he doesn't get the easy bucket, now he has a chance to go to the line for a 3-pointer.
Irv makes a super play on the other end offensively for that layup, and then has, as you say, the quickness to get back on defense on the follow, on the fast break. But you don't foul if you're going to let the man make the basket. 3-point play.
Make him work for the 2 points. 59-50, Jeff.
14 points for Jerome Martin. 9-point advantage.
How many for Irv Smith?
Irv Smith has 23.
He's tied with Burrell now as leading scorer in the ballgame.
Smith finds Stanley Brown on the far side. Man-to-man defense. Smith drives the lane. Offense.
He's out.
Offensive foul by Stanley Smith, and he is out of the ballgame.
Stanley Brown. That's his 5th.
That's 5 for Brown. Wells will replace him. Sorry about that, Stan. I think I addressed you as Stanley Smith there. There are 2 Smiths on this team, so it is confusing. Stanley Brown. My apologies. The heat of the moment, I guess, Alan.
Or the gymnasium.
Foul on Ellis. He doesn't like the call. Neither does his father. 5:59 remaining in this ball game. 59-50 the score. The Eagles down by 9. Number 23, Howard Burrell, will go to the line, shooting 1-1, I believe, Alan. Theron Ellis looks like he's a bit fatigued by that last play. Burrell makes the front end.
Theron has played every minute in this contest. He goes all out every time he hits the floor.
Number 35, Jerome Comer, will enter the ball game after this shot. Burrell makes both. Davis lucky to get that ball over to Wells. Blocking foul on number 45, Jerome Martin. Smith will go to the line. Howard Burrell now has 25 points in this game. 61-50, 5:48 to play. Norristown down by 11.
And once again, the Ghosts have taken off to 11-point lead. Eagles cut it to 5. It has been that type of battle. It's almost like there's a 5-point barrier. Abington lets Norristown get so close, and then immediately they put on the Jets again and take off.
Irv Smith now with 24 points.
From what I've seen of Irv Smith, he has really developed over just the first few games of the season.
Makes them both. Give him 25. This is his high point total of the season, I'm sure.
That's right. His previous high, I believe, was 21 against Chester. Now Abington, I think, Jeff, is just going to start slowing things down a little. They can afford to. 9-point edge.
Well, the clock is on their side. It's a cliche, but it's true. Ellis forced that play. What a play by Ron Wells. I'll tell you, I don't know where that play came from, but Ron Wells made a beauty.
Davis threw the ball away, and Ron Wells just skied up, took it in, and then went in for the layup.
It seemed like the Abington players were waiting for a whistle to blow. They were waiting for something to happen. They just let Wells go in alone. Oh my, Howard Burrell. Talk about a pleaser there.
What's that, 27?
For Jim Wilkinson, 27. Abington's ball, it rolls off of Pat O'Brien's leg. We're under 5 minutes and Ken Cool back in the ball game. John Cresswell almost throws him back into the ball game. Pat O'Brien takes his seat.
Coach not real thrilled with Pat O'Brien
I
at
don't
the
think
moment.
the coach was wishing him Merry Christmas there. Nice play by Ellis. Saved by Wells into Irv Smith. Theron Ellis has created 2 turnovers in the last 30 seconds. They give the ball right back. Vaughn travels.
What a break.
Big break for Norristown. I think you need eyes in the back of your head to play against this Abington squad. They are very light. They're very, very fast. Lightning fast.
Ron Wells wants the ball, but Davis doesn't even look his way.
Good pass that time inside to Irv Smith. Nice touch on it. Another foul on Jerome Martin. He's getting up there too.
That is 5. Jerome Martin is gone. And Forrest Davis gives him a round of applause.
That can
Happy
only help
to see him gone.
Norristown. Jerome doesn't think he has 5. The officials do, however.
Ed Avery over there at the scorer's table signaling immediately.
You know, we sometimes take this Norristown basketball facility for granted. This is one of the nicest facilities in the District 1 region. Point in fact, they play so many playoff games here, whether Norristown's involved or not.
Just look at Abington, which has a gym that, the hardwood floor, the wooden bleachers that hold about 1/3 the fans at Norristown's gymnasium. I mean, this is just an ultra-modern facility. Let's face it, the school's like a country club in a way.
Irv Smith misses a big free throw. Eagles down by 9, 4:13 to play.
And that was the front end of a one-on-one, so actually he loses an opportunity at 2 points on that miss.
Abington with possession, as I say, 4:09 to play. The Eagles down by 9, 63-54. They've been unable to draw closer here in this 4th quarter.
Abington and Norristown, some great battles over the last decade or so. Of course, it used to be the big 3. Wilkinson at Abington, of course, he is still there. Bill Werkheiser on the Norristown sidelines, and Hank Stopko at BW. When the Suburban 1 was just one entire league instead of two separate divisions, as they are now in the National and American Conferences, that was it. The preseason favorites, it would be those three just shuffling around in the top. I think Wilkinson led Abington to the finals, the state finals, which they did not win back in 1974, I believe was the year.
Well, we have these banners hanging here in the Norristown High School Gymnasium.
Eagles have been there a few times themselves.
Suburban 1 champions in boys basketball 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19 times since 1923.
I wasn't around back then, but I understand they had a heck of a team.
My father was. My father graduated
yeah.
in 27. He often tells me about the undefeated basketball teams that Norristown High School had back then. It's a long tradition. 3:50 to play.
Eagles still in that man-to-man defense.
Well, they've got to be, absolutely.
And they've got to press here.
They have to create turnovers. Abington's quite content with the score as it stands right now.
Only problem is with trying to create the turnovers, Abington's speed negates Norristown's quickness.
And that's what's going to happen, and that's unfortunate because Abington's a fine free throw shooting team as well. And Norristown cannot afford to lose Irv Smith. If you have anybody commit fouls, anybody but Irv Smith.
First one is good there. Give Rhines just his 6th point of the ball game. And that makes it 7. Eagles deficit 11, 65-54, 3.5 minutes to play. Davis stuck at the timeline waiting for somebody. Finally launches it, and Irvin Smith comes down with it. That is a strange play. Forrest Davis was just teetering on the timeline waiting for some help. Didn't know which way to go.
Yeah, no, he couldn't come back because he was he was on the mid-court line.
Exactly.
Ken Cool dropped back court and you heard shouts of no, don't throw it to him. Sam Rhines up at the top for Abington. 2:55 to play.
Here you go. They're just going to keep it out on the perimeter, Jeff. Kill some time on the spot.
That's right. Every 5 seconds, they must bring the ball within that hash mark. And as long as they do that and pass the ball every 5 seconds, they're fine. They can play all night.
Especially with a 9-point edge.
9-point advantage, 65 to 56.
This is almost where I don't think you're going to be able, especially when you're down by this many points. I think you're better off just going in and fouling.
And Ken Cool is called for the foul. I see a lot of Norristown alumni here this evening, Alan, from recent classes past. Everybody home from college for the Christmas break.
So what friends are you going to give plugs to this time?
No plugs tonight. I just see a lot of people. Nope.
You sure?
I'll wait for the Triangle Club tournament when there'll be more of them here. Then I can make up a list.
By the way, the Triangle Tournament here at Norristown Gymnasium, December 27th.
And the 30th.
That will be the
4
finals.
Teams involved are Norristown, Kenrick, Wissahickon, and Salterton, I believe. And that should be some fine basketball.
Yes, sir.
Rhines makes the first. Sorry, Alan.
Gym should be packed for the Triangle Tournament, especially with 3 local teams in Wissahickon, the Eagles, and the Knights.
Barring a snowstorm, I suppose. Rhines makes both. 2 more nails in the Norristown coffin. 67-56 with 2:20 to play. Cool's got the open shot, and he makes it. His first basket of the game, I believe.
2 minutes and counting.
67 to 58. And Rhines, for a big man, good ball control. Collins all the way down the lane, back at the nair. I'm very impressed with the way Abington's running this stall game, Alan. Norristown's all over the court and there's nothing they can do.
They are conducting a clinic.
Well, you've got a foul right now.
Sure. You've wasted 30 seconds. You're not going to steal the ball.
1:26 to play. $1:17 to play. Well, Norristown can watch them run the clock out and the ball game's over. 1:07 to play. Foul. 67 to 58.
Now Abington took possession with 2 minutes and 7 seconds left. There's 1:06 remaining now. So essentially Norristown for 61 seconds decided to play the chasing game instead of fouling. I mean, they're not going to win the game anyway. It's impossible. I guess that's a difference of coaching.
Things have happened.
True. I've seen a few. But the coaching philosophies, that's true.
There you go. That's what you want.
You want to get a chance for your offense to get you back into the game. Your defense not going to do it. Lob pass to Smith, no good. It's on the floor loose. Davis coming up with it. He loses it. Bye-bye.
This is a slam right here.
Who, Ellis slamming the Abington player?
Yes. Oh, I didn't think that number 13, Chris Roberts at 5'8", was going to jam the ball.
Chris Roberts rushed for 1,000 yards for the Ghost football team as a sophomore last season. That's your...
What a mind you have. You are just full of sports trivia.
Well, you know, that's why they pay me the big bucks.
My goodness, you are just a walking computer. Well, a library of statistics.
Plethora. No.
A plethora. Myriad statistics.
Well, I feel it's kind of my duty with you here. I have to live up to those high standards.
That's right.
You notice, of course, we're here in the snow. The fans have shown up, both teams, Sam Galbraith, Dan Coughlin. But have you seen Tony Koya anywhere?
Tony who?
Tony Koya, Director of Communications, Norristown School District.
Oh.
The man who's probably sitting in front of the fireplace this evening watching the snow fall.
The balding guy.
And we'll be working for Abington next week. 68-58, 52 seconds left to go in this ball game. The fans are starting to leave in for good reason. Abington's wrapped this one up.
Into the ball game, number 25, Jim Gerber. Theron Ellis wants a slam. He'd take a layup instead. 9 points for Theron tonight. 68-60, 32 seconds to play. Sam Rhines is fouled by Ron Wells. That was a good foul. He wasn't going to pull Sam Rhines down. Ron Wells guilty of the infraction. Was that Ron Wells? No, that wasn't Ron Wells. That was Forrest Davis. I'm sorry about that. Ron Wells is out of the ball game.
Right, number 5, Darwin Smith is in right now.
Sorry about that, Ron. That was Forrest Davis.
I'm sure Ron won't hold it against you.
Neither will Stan Smith. Alias Stan Brown. Rhines makes the first. 10 points for Sam tonight. 30 seconds to play.
I think the Eagles' chances all but evaporated there when Stanley Brown went to the bench with his 5th foul early in this quarter.
Rhines knocks both through. 70-60, 27 seconds to play. Davis. Rebound, comes outside. Ken Cool pulls it down. Looks for some help, takes it in himself. Won't go for him. Darian Smith, guilty of the infraction. "14 seconds to play, Allen. This game written off for Norristown. They're down by 10 to Abington. Fans are departing. Going to go out and clear the snow off their windshields before they make the drive home. And of course, we want to thank the Norristown Area School District for bringing you this ball game. Mr. Sam Galbraith producing and directing our show this evening, and he and Dan Coughlin running camera for us tonight here at the Norristown High School Gymnasium. Thank you to both of those gentlemen for a job well done.
How about that? We flew Dan all the way in from Dayton, Ohio to do camera work tonight.
The big time. Herb Smith. Layup uncontested. That's 29 points for Herb Smith. 4 seconds to go. Abington will bring the ball inbounds.
Herb Smith high score now because Burrell has 27.
Forrest Davis with a foul with 4 seconds. Thanks, Forrest. We'll be here a little bit longer now. Now, if they'd have done this with 2 minutes and 4 seconds left, I wouldn't have complained nearly so much as with 4 seconds when the game is over.
And Pat O'Brien checking in for these final 4 seconds. Forrest Davis is fouled out.
Well, the better team won this evening as far as I'm concerned. Abington outplayed the Norristown Eagles.
I don't see how Abington cannot win the Suburban 1 League crown. I don't think anyone else is even in their class. Roberts makes the first. All of his points coming at the free throw line this evening, all 4. Howard Burrell with an astonishing evening, 27 points,
17 of those in the first half. 3, 2, 1. Ball game's over. Final score 72-62. Abington over the Eagles in a game that was not exactly very exciting from a Norristown High standpoint. Alan and I will be back in just a moment. Final score, folks, 72-62, and the Abington Ghosts with a very impressive win over the Norristown High Eagles here at the Norristown High School Gymnasium. Alan, you said it just in the closing moments of this ball game. I don't see anyone better than the Abington Ghosts in Suburban 1 League National Division this year.
Well, let's look at what they do so well. One, they're an excellent defensive club, especially with that full court press. Two, they're a fine rebounding club, even though they don't have that particular height, but they're all a bunch of good leapers, something which Norristown has always been lucky enough to have in past years, but this year they're a little short. And finally, what an outstanding group of scorers. Anybody on this team, they're so fast and they can put it up from anywhere. Howard Burrell, though, the MVP for Abington this evening, 27 points. The majority of them coming, I think, 17 in the first half. Then he reeled off the first 6 in the third quarter to more or less put this game out of reach for the Eagles. But perhaps tonight there is one bright spot for Norristown, or even two bright spots. We saw the development of Stanley Brown as the point guard in the third quarter of play. He settled down and he led a ferocious Eagles comeback. And secondly, we saw perhaps Irvin Smith develop as the offensive gun that John Cresswell has been looking at. Tonight, Irvin Smith, a career high and a game high, 29 points.
Super game for Irv Smith. I can't say enough about his potential. He's matured so much just in the first six ball games this season. I give him a lot of credit for his performance here this evening. He held them together.
If I can interrupt you for 1 second, Irvin Smith,
you always do.
Irvin Smith reminds me of perhaps like Michael Simpkins was last year.
Yes.
Started slowly, and then suddenly he became the guy that everybody else on the floor looked to and relied on for the tough hoops.
I agree. Very similar to Mike. Also for Norristown, Stanley Brown emerged with 12 points in this ball game, followed by Theron Ellis, not usually the scorer for the Eagles. Theron had 9 points. Pat O'Brien with 5 points, also a starter. Forrest Davis 2, Ken Cool 2, and Ron Wells 3. So really not a diversified scoring attack from the Norristown Eagles. Just the opposite for Abington, Allen.
Oh, Howard Burrell, as we already told you, 27 points. Jerome Martin with 14. Sam Rhines, a very quiet 11 points. Chris Roberts with 5. Eric Vaughn with 9. Charles Griffin and Aaron Collins and Josh Nair all with a bucket apiece. So he's had 7 players getting into the scoring column for Abington tonight. And Jim Wilkinson, the Ghost coach, played 10 players total here this evening, where Norristown really can only go about 7 deep on their bench.
Well, I think Abington won this ball game in the first quarter. They got out to the early lead. They finished the first quarter ahead by 12. They win the game, by 10. The game was over there. Norristown played them evenly through the final 3 quarters, but Abington had that coast margin they had.
Exactly, and it seemed to be a 5-point bulge. We saw Norristown fall down by 14 in the second quarter, only to come back to rally by 12. Then they go on an intermission down by 12, as we told you. In the third quarter, it being, of course, Abington opens up an 18-point lead. The Eagles somehow got it down to 5 points, and by then it was too little too late, because it takes so much to come back when you're down by that many points.
Okay, Norristown, their next games are, of course, in the Triangle Club tournament here at the Norristown High School Gymnasium. As we mentioned, Bishop Kenrick, Wissahickon, Souderton, and Norristown in 4 games, 2 on Friday night, the 27th, 2 on Monday night, the 30th. Those will be the consolation game and the final game. We hope you'll come out to watch those ball games. They should be very, very interesting.
And if you can't make it, make sure you just pay attention to your Norristown area channel, because you'll be catching all our future broadcasts.
Mr. Sam Galbraith. Thank you, Sam.